March Madness hitting the hardwood in Indianapolis all weekend long. This year, the big dance not only unique because of the pandemic, but also because of some big upsets last weekend.
Busted brackets all over the country. For the first time ever, 4 double-digit seeds have moved on to play in the Sweet 16. Check out the giant bracket blanketing the JW Marriott right there in the heart of Indianapolis tonight. Plenty of opportunities for a major Cinderella story this year. This weekend, we'll see a number 11 seed take on a number 2 seed, a number 15 go against a number 3.
Bracket is so cool. All right, the NCAA says no perfect brackets remain. And now the big question, will there even be more upsets this weekend? A lot of speculation surrounding how just everything will play out.
I love the drama of March Madness. Always good. Earlier today, I talked to USA Today college basketball reporter Scott Gleason about the team he thinks can advance to the Elite Eight. Chicagoans, listen closely. Scott, thanks so much for giving us a few minutes tonight. We appreciate it. Another fun weekend of college hoops on tap. What game are you most looking forward to and after this tournament of a whole lot of upsets?
Right. So, I mean, I think everyone's bracket is busted at this point. We're thinking about how March Madness has just kind of unfolded. The thing that sticks out to me is the Pac-12 has just been sensational in this NCAA tournament. You know, there was a lot of hype going into the dance, thinking about how good the Big Ten was. They had 9 teams going. Well, they only have 1 left with Michigan. So looking at the Pac-12, you got a really tough matchup here when you're thinking about USC versus Oregon. Whichever, team comes out of that game and wins that, they have a legitimate shot to take out, the undisputed favorite in this tournament, and that's Gonzaga. So, USC just looked, phenomenal in their game. They just pummeled Kansas. Kansas was a number 3 seed, and they just made them look like a 10 seed. So to me, that game, that Pac-12 clash between USC and Oregon is really intriguing to me in the Sweet 16 as far as, the games that, can really kind of make or break for the bracket.
Bigger picture question here. A lot of debate, a lot of chatter online about the whole seeding process here, right? Because you had the non-conference schedule, then you had a short preseason. So people were basically saying, now listen, we couldn't gauge these teams using the same metrics as other tournaments. So there was a fundamental flaw in the seeding. But listen, it was COVID, so they did the best they could. Do you think some of these things would be shaking out the same way had we had a normal college hoops season minus the pandemic?
Well, I think we had to see March Madness. The NCAA tournament had to happen because of financial purposes. This is the biggest sporting spectacle, in the world. So it had to happen. But in spite of that, I think you heard a lot of blowback from some of these coaches. Coach Mike Krzyzewski with Duke really just being against having some of these games just crammed in. It was not best for the student athletes. And the scheduling side of it, when we're thinking about it, we used the same exact metrics that we've used in previous years. And it really was working to a lot of these teams' detriment. It was not beneficial for them. The Pac-12 is a great example. Yet some of these teams just not play for an entire month because of COVID protocols. The West Coast was getting hit in a different way than a lot of teams on the East Coast. So it really was not highly considered, I think, when the selection committee was determining which teams get in. And so that really makes things interesting when we're thinking about, well, this is the year that has so many upsets. This is one of the, most upset-driven March Madnesses we've seen. A lot of that is because the seeding is deceiving based on what we saw throughout the entire season with COVID, where you have a lot of different protocols getting in the way of a team getting a rhythm, right? You win 2 games in a row and then you're out for 2 weeks because of COVID protocols. You don't get to practice in some cases. So there was just a lot of things that really were not seen, that were behind the scenes, behind the curtains, that, weren't taken into account. And I don't think that they really had an opportunity to be taken into account because there's such a focus and emphasis on this cash machine that is March Madness.
Cash machine. I like that phrase. To the credit, though, they've done, apparently at this point at least, done a good job kind of emulating the NBA bubble model here and keeping the team safe. So at least that's a plus. But certainly it is generating a ton of cash, as it usually does. Do you get the sense, though, through ratings or online traffic that this is getting the same kind of excitement from the general public as other tournaments, or are things kind of down because we're still in the middle of this strange time?
Right. Well, I'll be honest. I was surprised with how well the NCAA has handled and managed things, because thinking about how the NBA did things, in the bubble in Orlando, this is going to be a lot more difficult to, maintain and to, just regulate. We were thinking about in Indianapolis, but they were right off the bat very strict in terms of taking officials out. We had referees that were basically kicked out of this tournament. just doing everything that they could to protect the student athletes. And so I think that's one side of it. It's been run well so far by the NCAA. I think there's been a lot of blowback when we're thinking about, gender equality in terms of what's happening with the women's tournament. So the NCAA has taken some blowback there, but it's been a well-run tournament.
Scott Gleason, thanks so much for your insight and your time. We appreciate it. Enjoy watching the games.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Well, all right. So the one thing we teased actually didn't make the piece, so I'll say it. I said, who do you think could maybe get in there and win? And Loyola Chicago. Wow. Sister Jean, he thinks that could be the sleeper champion of the tournament.
Sister Jean.
So everyone love, right?
Yeah,
you can't bet against Sister Jean.
Right.
That would be the Cinderella story of Cinderella stories.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It'd be great.
Yeah.
You're the only one. We did a little contest here on the show.
That's right.
Outward standing, because I had North Carolina done. Marnie had Ohio State done.
I had Michigan, and Michigan
Right.
takes on Florida State on Sunday.
Yeah.
They're going to win it all.
Friends.
I don't know.
Any projections, Ms. Burrow?
Well, listen, I'm late to the party, but I just did go ahead and I picked Creighton. So we'll see what happens.
Oh,
Granted, I'm picking now, but
that's all right. We'll take
I feel like the win still, if they take it all, if they go all the way,
You'll
it still
take credit
counts,
if
right?
they-
Yeah, still counts.
Not bad. We'll see. Enjoy the games this weekend.